Okay, welcome to the American Legion Post 153, named after a young Park Ridge Marine, Jedh Kobe Barker, who had made the supreme sacrifice of his life 50 years ago today. We have the Marine Corps League and the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 800, and the Color Guard presented today. Please all rise. Colors advance. Hands salute. Okay, continue to salute. We will now do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two. Okay. And now I'll introduce the Marine Corps Chaplain, Chaplain Vincent Matega. He will read the invocation. Uncover.
I prepared a little something more than the invocation. On September 2nd, 2017, our detachment was asked to participate in a ceremony honoring the memory of Lance Corporal Charles Bingham, who was killed in Vietnam 50 years ago on this day, September 2nd. It was a heart-touching and moving ceremony given by his niece and nephew, who never got to know their uncle. As I stood there observing, I realized that most of the people that were there had never met Lance Corporal Charles Bingham. What a great tribute to him. Today we are here to honor the memory of a great Marine who gave up his life to save his brother Marines in Vietnam 50 years ago on this day, September 21st. I am speaking about Lance Corporal Jedh C. Barker, who is also the patron of our detachment. Although I have never had the pleasure of actually knowing Jedh personally, I have to say I have great respect for him. Having a younger brother who fought in Vietnam, I have a vague idea of what it must have been like. My brother and every Vietnam veteran that I know are tight-lipped about their experience in Vietnam. It must have been hell. And so it is appropriate that we are here to honor the memory of Jedh, a great Marine. We ask our Heavenly Father to bestow his blessings on all here present this evening and all our family members. We ask also that you keep our military out of harm's way and bring them safely home. We ask all these blessings in thy name. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Now I ask everybody to please be seated. Okay. I would like to thank all for coming to present tonight. All officers of the Post 153 Squadron 153 and Unit 153 District Vice Commander Dan Hoffman, Marine Corps League, New Jersey Scouting, Chairman of Tim Dunlin. It is my pleasure now to introduce the Mayor of Park Ridge, Honorable Keith Masaglia.
Thank you. I want to begin by thanking the Barker and Lewis families for inviting me to participate in tonight's program. It's truly an honor and a privilege. The Vietnam War took its toll on our country, and in particular Park Ridge. Including Jedh, 6 young Park Ridgers were killed in action during that war. With your permission, I would like to mention Jedh's fallen comrades and former residents of Park Ridge. They are Thomas Robert Kyle, Private First Class United States Marine Corps, killed in action August 20th, 1966. Thomas John Mallon, Corporal United States Marine Corps, killed in action March 3rd, 1967. Charles Frederick Bingham, Lance Corporal United States Marine Corps, killed in action September 2nd, 1967. Jedh Colby Barker, Lance Corporal United States Marine Corps, killed in action September 21st, 1967. Glenn Ellsworth Truex, Private First Class United States Marine Corps, killed in action August 26, 1969. Kevin Richard Humphrey, Lance Corporal United States Marine Corps, killed in action November 5th, 1970. Please take a moment to think of these gentlemen and their families. All 6 young men were full of potential and promise, and were taken from us far too early. I was fortunate to get to know about Jedh and what he did for this country while being involved with the dedication of the plaque honoring him a few years ago in the center of town. As we all know, he was a remarkable young man and a true Park Ridger. For those who haven't seen the plaque, please visit it in the center of town directly across from Veterans Park. Coincidentally, my son will turn 22 in just a few weeks, the same age Jedh was when he passed. That fact makes me take pause to consider what the Barker family had to deal with back in 1967 and how young he truly was when he took on that and performed that extraordinary act. It's a sad time in Park Ridge, but also a time of great pride, and we are here to acknowledge the sacrifice that he and his family gave to all of us. If I can, I'd like to read the proclamation. Whereas Lance Corporal Jedh C. Barker served this nation in the Vietnam War as a United States Marine, and whereas Lance Corporal Jedh C. Barker was born on June 20th, 1945, and was a resident of Park Ridge and an admired graduate of Park Ridge High School who attended Fairleigh Dickinson University and Northeast Missouri State Teachers College, where he played on the Bulldogs football team. And whereas Lance Corporal Jedh C. Barker was discharged from the United States Marine Corps Reserve to enlist in the regular Marine Corps on October 5th, 1966, and he was assigned to Fox Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, 3rd Marine Division in the Republic of Vietnam in March of 1967. And whereas on September 21st, 1967, Lance Corporal Jedh C. Barker made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation during Operation Kingfisher, southeast of Con Thien near Phu Oc. The battalion was ambushed by the 90th Regiment of the 324th B Division. Lance Corporal Barker was killed in action during this engagement, and whereas in addition to receiving the Congressional Medal of Honor, Lance Corporal Jedh C. Barker exemplary efforts were recognized with the Purple Heart, the Presidential Unit Citation, the National Defense Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal, a Bronze Star, and the Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal. And whereas Lance Corporal Jedh C. Barker is a true American hero, making the ultimate sacrifice of laying down his life to save those of his fellow Marines, earning the Congressional Medal of Honor as a testament to his honor, bravery, and duty to this country. And whereas 50 years ago after his death, his family has never forgotten Jedh's sacrifice, and his memory remains strong and lives on with his family and friends. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Council and the Borough of Park Ridge, pay tribute to Lance Corporal Jedh C. Barker, United States Marine Corps, for his dedication to our nation, his noble service, defending our freedoms, and answering the call of duty with courage during the Vietnam War. We are forever grateful for his service, valor, and sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of our post, we'd like you to accept a certificate of appreciation. All right. We're honored and delighted to have the following present tonight to honor the memorial event which the present comments and proclamations. First, we have Senator Jerry Carnelli of the 39th District. Would like to say a couple words. Oh, and excuse me, Assemblywoman Holly Sapezi. I apologize.
And Assemblyman Hart. We always do these things as a team, but we're going to let Holly take the first.
So, one of the most difficult parts of our job, at least since I've been in over the past 5 years, has been attending several funerals for young men who have been in our area, who signed up for the military, literally gave a blank check to the United States up to and including their lives, and lost their lives while they were out defending our freedom that we take so much for granted. And at any of the events that we've been to for those families, the one promise I have made is that we will never forget your sons' names. And we will never allow the communities where they came from to forget your son's name and sacrifice. And being here tonight and seeing 50 years after giving the ultimate sacrifice, it gives me hope for the families who we have seen so devastated by loss that it's not for naught. And we are here tonight. We have a joint legislative resolution, but on behalf of your family, thank you. Thank you for being here. For the Barker family, the Lewis family, the Kyle family, the Malin family, Bingham family, Humphrey, Ellsworth. Your relatives were more than a plaque, more than a park that's been named, more than a street. They were your younger brother. They were an uncle you never knew. They were, kids who went off so that we can live the lives that we live. And, thank you to you for ensuring that people do not forget. And I'm going to turn it over to Senator Cardinale and Assemblyman Off, but
Good evening. I want to first of all thank everyone for attending this evening. Thank you for the Post for having this event. I was rather awestruck by reading the back of the brochure, the catalog that was being handed out today. And I just want to read something quickly. And it just is amazing to me. Unhesitantly, and with complete disregard for his own personal safety, Corporal Barker threw himself upon the force of the explosion. In a final act of bravery, he crawled to the side of a wounded comrade and administered first aid before succumbing to his own grievous wounds. And I hear out in the blogosphere and the radio waves that this notion of American exceptionalism is not founded. Very short little couple of sentences said it all. American exceptionalism is healthy, and it's here in Park Ridge, New Jersey. It's here in New Jersey, it's here in the United States. Contrary to what people might be trying to tell you. I thank you very much for coming out here, because this is part of American exceptionalism too, and it's what makes it happen. Because people know that if they make the ultimate sacrifice, if they defend their country, if they defend your freedoms, that you're not going to be forgetful of it. And you'll watch your freedoms as much as they did, even though they watched them a little bit more than everybody in this room has had to do. I thank you again for coming, and I'm going to leave the microphone to our good Senator Cardinale.
I never met Jedh. I had, by accident, the opportunity to sit next to his sister. And you know, events like this have two sides to them. Even though it was 50 years ago, I'm sure for the family and those who knew him, the pain is as good and strong as it was when they first heard of it. But there is a good part of it. This room is full. This room is full. And it was 50 years ago. And we are remembering. And that's so important. Because our freedom that we all enjoy as Americans, and so many of us take for granted, is dependent on individual acts of heroism, one on top of another, one after another. And they add up to a defense of our way of life. And we happen to be privileged to live in a country where that way of life is the envy of the entire world. But it wouldn't be there if it weren't for the sacrifices that are made by folks like Jedh. Many of which don't even get noticed. Sometimes we do notice, sometimes we do not. But many of them don't even get noticed. So my hat is off to all of you today for being here, for carrying on this great American tradition of honoring those who have served. And I thank you very much. What we have for the family and for the post, resolution that was sponsored by the three of us, signed by the Senator, the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the Assembly, and it is commemorating all of the things that you already know about it. It's in honor. My eyes are not great enough anymore than we can find and the light and so forth. But this is what it looks like, and I'm going to present this one. It's just, thank you.
Gotta bear with me a little bit, I get emotional. Second, we have the Congressional Judge Gothenheimer from New Jersey's 5th Congressional District, Michael DeVlasios, Vietnam Veterans Affairs Director for the Congress. Mike is a member of the American Legion Post 86 of Newton, New Jersey, and we thank you for coming.
Good evening. On behalf of the Congressman, I would like to thank the family for inviting us here tonight for this occasion. Congressman couldn't be here today. He sends his regards to the family and his respect for the ultimate sacrifice that your family member has given. Just this morning, Congressman Gottheimer submitted an extension of remarks for the official congressional record down in Washington, D.C. And what this does is this puts Corporal Barker's story in U.S. House history forever. And I would just like to read some of this extension of remarks because I really feel it's important for us to hear. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor a decorated veteran and a true American hero from New Jersey's 5th District, Lance Corporal Jedh Colby Barker. Corporal Barker grew up in Bergen County in New Jersey and graduated from Park Ridge High School in 1967. In 1967, Corporal Barker was assigned to Fox Company in the Marine Corps, where he heroically defended his comrades in the line of fire during Operation Kingfisher. Corporal Barker's actions on this day earned him the most prestigious military decoration, the Congressional Medal of Honor. I am including the Medal of Honor citation to highlight Corporal Barker's actions. The citation was added for the record. September 21st, 2017 will mark the 50th anniversary of Corporal Barker's remarkable patriotism and valor on the battlefield during the Vietnam War. The Marine Corps motto is Semper Fidelis, meaning always faithful. Corporal Barker lived and embodied that to the fullest. I ask my colleagues to join me in honoring Lance Corporal Jedh Colby Barker, a true American hero. His family, the 5th District, and all Americans should be proud of Lance Corporal Jedh Colby Barker, and his memory and heroism in the line of duty will never be forgotten. Also, just this morning, we had a flag flown over the United States Capitol in honor of Corporal Barker, and that was delivered just this afternoon. So I'd like to present that to the family, and thanks again for having us.
Okay, presenters for sharing their most precious assets of your time for memorial occasions. We want to thank you for your comments to the veterans. And now I'd like to introduce Jed's brother, John Barker, will come up and introduce the video about the Medal of Honor and featuring Lyndon Baines Johnson, his ceremony and historical medal. John?
Now we're on. So, hopefully we get through this just fine and just fine. So, thank you all. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's an honor to share this 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love, 1967. And the boys are showing it up on the DMZ, where it was World War II with their hands tied. On September 21st, 1967, the 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines engaged NVA regulars in a ferocious battle just east of Compiègne, a few kilometers south of the demilitarized zone. 32 Marines and sailors died in the fighting, 15 of them from Fox 24, the Point Company, 3rd Platoon, Point, Jedh Squad, the Tip. Now, we're going to stop for a second because I was honored to be at the dedication of 2-4 at the Marine Corps Museum, and we were invited down. I was the only one that could make it, and there were 2 Marines there from the 3rd Platoon, from Fox. They were the only ones. Echo Company made a big stand. They were there, plus a lot of other people. But these 2 fellows were my escorts. The one fellow, Pat Burns, was just transferred over from 2nd Platoon. He had known Jedh a little bit, talked with him here and there, but that was it. He had just moved over. You know, you don't know people, you don't know people. If you're lefty, you know them on your right, you know them on your left. There's also Steve Mercier was there. He'd just been in Vietnam for a couple of weeks. And here he was. Pat Burns had two Purple Hearts, Bronze Star, V for Valor. Steve Mercier, Purple Heart. So they were my escorts, so I got to learn a few things of they were there. And they told me a few things that are going to go on. Now, I know, it's Jed's thing here and everything, but it's not all about Jedh. I want to read some names, and and there's a few side notes I have from these Marines. They told me, I know, they know. First thing is, there was no lieutenant. It was an E5 was the platoon leader. There were no senior NCOs. E5 was leading the platoon. There were 5 corporals, all of which gave their lives. Lance corporals, all. You're going to hear the names. You hear they were there. They all took it together. And the first fellow up, Sergeant Kenneth M. Montone, Great Neck, New York, led the platoon. He had split the platoon when they took sniper fire. Jed's squad went up. When the ambush broke, he immediately broke to the front with other men and went straight into the middle of it. I was told that he didn't receive the medal. He should have received the medal. He took over. He just led. Then there's Corporal William J. Balfour, Toledo, Ohio. Corporal William A. Berry, Wairika, California. HMS Connell J. Byrne, Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania, Silver Star, Corpsman. Corporal Jimmy D. Curry, San Jose, California, Silver Star. Corporal Timothy P. Jennings, Houston, Texas. Corporal Tiago Reese, New Bedford, Mass, Navy Cross. Now they told me he's one of the very ones that took Jedh out. There was a lot of dead, and they were getting the wounded out. Tiago Reese repeatedly went back in to take more out until he was killed. They told me he was putting Jedh on the chopper. Jedh was alive when he got in. The only reason Jedh got out is because he was still alive. They had to pull back. Lance Corporal Victor P. Androzio, Barrington, Rhode Island. Lance Corporal Jedh C. Barker, Park Ridge, New Jersey, Medal of Honor. Lance Corporal David F. Garrett, Evansville, Indiana. Lance Corporal Brent A. Holt, Bakersfield, California. Lance Corporal Theodore Johnson, Homestead, Pennsylvania. Lance Corporal Kenneth J. Plumador, Syracuse, New York. PFC Richard A. Hamlin, Madison, Ohio. PFC James E. Trueshore, St. Petersburg, Florida. Now, I'm just going to continue here because let's move along. Number of bodies could not be recovered as the Marines were forced to withdraw. The 2-4 Marines Command Chronology of October 1967 contains the following statement. On 10 October, the battalion made a sweep to the northeast of Cantienne to recover the bodies lost in combat on the 21st of September. All bodies were recovered with the exception of one, which is known dead. All bodies were removed to D-Med. Lance Corporal Plumador's body was not recovered, according to DOD's office. His remains were repatriated on 20 June 1996 and identified on 23 October 2002. The Summer of Love. Moment of silence. We'll move on. Thank you all again for coming. Thank you. Show the video. Start the video.
Friends, this film that you're going to see now was made for the commemorative anniversary service of Lance Corporal Jedh Barker on the 27th of September 2007. It's divided into 2 sections. The first section is archival Marine film of a presentation during the Vietnamese War by President Lyndon Baines Johnson to 4 servicemen of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Following that, we're going to talk about some of the symbolism of the Medal of Honor and its history.
The courage of the bravest in war is a very rare and a very special quality. It knows no rank or station. Generals and privates have won the Medal of Honor. Riflemen and sailors and pilots and priests have all worn it on their breasts. It has gone to every kind of man that our country has ever produced. They have come from the cities and the farms in every section of our land, from very humble homes and from families of great wealth. I don't know what there is, though, in this Georgia water, but there's something very special about this ceremony. Two of the recipients today come from the same little town in the great state of Georgia. And it really made me sorry that my grandfather had left Georgia to go back there, because I take such pride in the accomplishments of you gentlemen whose families have been friends before you even entered the service. We have had workers and scholars and businessmen and professional soldiers. They have lived in different times and they have fought in different battles on different fields. They have demonstrated their bravery many, many times in different ways. But they have all shared one noble distinction. Each man heard the call of duty in an hour of hard challenge, and each man answered that call with a courage beyond demand. So now the names of Jackson and Pless and Lassen and Dix are added to this roster of the very brave, and the record of their deeds at the very summit of human testing will forever now be part of the history of valor. The words above and beyond the call of duty would never sound again in the world that we want and work for. Never again would war summons the best that men can give. But when that day comes, there will always be a high place of honor for the men who have bought it, for all the good and gallant fighting men who took their duty as they found it, and they discharged it always with the courage of giants. Such men are with us here today, and we who owe them and their comrades so much all stand tall in their presence. I should say that the thing that has given me more strength, as well as more comfort and confidence in the 5 years of the responsibility that I've carried, have been our men in uniform. From those distinguished outstanding members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff down to the lowest sailor and airman, Marine and Army. They have never disappointed me once, and they have preserved freedom for us many times with their own blood.
Early in the Civil War, December of 1861, the idea was approached to have a Medal of Valor for the soldiers and sailors in the Union forces. Commander-in-Chief General Winfield Scott said no, it was too much of a European thing, and he voted against it. However, on December 21st, 1861, it was passed in a resolution by the Congress that the Navy would award a medal for conspicuous service to the members of the Navy and the Marine Corps. The medal found support in the Navy. However, it was not a recognition of courage in strife. It was really an idea that it was to be bestowed upon petty officers, seamen, landsmen, and Marines, as shall distinguish himself by their gallantry and other seaman-like qualities during the present war. Let's talk for a minute about the symbolism of the Navy Medal of Honor. The Navy Medal of Honor is composed of inverted 5-point stars. On the tips of the stars are laurel leaves surrounded by oak leaves. Remember, this is the Civil War. In the center, it's encircled with 34 stars, equal to the number of stars in the flag of the United States in 1862. 1 star for each of the state and 11 stars for the Confederacy. Inside the circle of the 34 stars are 2 images. The right one is Minerva, the Roman goddess of wisdom and of war. On her helmet is perched an owl, representing wisdom. In keeping with the Roma tradition, in her left hand are arrows and an axe handle, symbolizing authority. In her right hand is the shield so often used in the army, symbolizing power and defense. Recoiling from Minerva is a man clutching snakes in his hand. He represents discord. Taken in context of the Civil War, we have soldiers and sailors struggling to overcome the discords of the state and to preserve the Union. The design was as fitting as it was symbolic. In 1862, February 17th, Massachusetts Senator Henry Wilson introduced a bill to authorize a medal for the armed forces, for the Army. Over the following months, the words of the presentation were changed slightly, and by July 12, 1862, President Lincoln signed the papers authorizing the Medal of Honor for the Army. It read a little bit different than the Navy medal. The President of the United States be and he is hereby authorized to cause 2,000 medals of honor to be prepared with suitable emblematic devices and to direct that same be presented in the name of Congress to such non-commissioned officers and privates who shall most distinguish themselves by their gallantry in action and other soldier-like qualities during the present insurrection. On December 21st, Lincoln had authorized 200 medals for the Navy, and by July 12, 1862, he had authorized 2,000 more medals for the Army. Can you see how the standards are becoming a little bit loose here? Yes, the medal was awarded for combat, but some awards kind of just slid through. In 1876, due to the large number of soldiers who perished at the Battle of the Little Bighorn, a review board of officers was set up to consider the many requests. And the number was pared down to 24 men, and a new standard was applied that conduct which deserves such recognition should not just be a simple discharge of duty, but it should be an act that, if omitted or refused to be done, should not justly subject the person to censure or shortcoming or failure. The medal was born in 1862, but in 1917 there was a purge eliminating some 911 of these Medal of Honors that were given out for all sorts of reasons, everything from a person not being a citizen of America to being a woman. And in 1918, July 9th, a board set up that the President is authorized to present, in the name of Congress, a Medal of Honor only to each person who, while an officer or enlisted men of the armed forces, shall hereafter, in action involving actual conflict with an enemy, distinguish himself conspicuously by gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. This is the reason for the anniversary and the commemoration this evening, to honor and remember a young man, Lance Corporal Jedh C. Barker, who risked and gave his life for our country above and beyond the call of duty.
And Susan Barker-Roulette will take a board, read her poem.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to see so many people here tonight. Jedh was so many things to so many of us long before he became a soldier, long before he became a Marine, and long before he made the ultimate sacrifice of his life. My family and I had hoped that we could make this memorial for Jedh not just about his military service, but to also make it a celebration of his life, as the life he had when he was just a boy, when he was just a kid from Park Ridge. The one you sat behind in grade school? The one you played stickball with? Or caught lightning bugs with? Or coached you in baseball? You played football with him? Or went to the prom? And I'm sure, I know that there are people in this room that would be able to tell you some Jedh stories. I'm looking at the person right now. They'd be able to share some remembrances of him long before he put a uniform on and went off. And I've also had the opportunity, a lot of times if I'm I go on to a website, it's called the Virtual Wall, and I read things and I find things. And it's not just about my brother, but it's about all of our men and women in service that haven't come back. And so I found a few things that I wanted to share with you that are from local people, Park Ridge people, and comments they made about Jedh. This first one is from someone named Bill that he went to grade school with. And he said, "We played ball together as kids. When the street lights came on, the game was over, and we all went home. Jedh, you died while I was there. Coming home was hard for me. Our families worked together. I visit your memory when I travel to Washington. 30 years later, 40 years later, and now 50 years later, your memory remains." And this is from another high school friend. "Jedh, you were always one of the best-liked guys in our class. You died much too young and way before you should have. Rest in peace." And this one is from someone he went to college with in Missouri. He said, "Jedh and I became close friends while attending Northeast Missouri State College in Kirksville, Missouri. I only knew Jedh for a short time, but we became very good friends. I never imagined we would never see each other again. My condolences to his family and friends. I've wanted to say that for a lot of years. Jedh's bravery and concern for others does not surprise me after reading the circumstances of his death. I'm very proud to have known Jedh and will never forget him. The wall will be in my town next month, and I will definitely be there to say goodbye to an old friend." And just this morning, I found this on my Facebook page from a person that I went to school with. And he was remembering. He says, "I remember driving home from Rutgers University in Newark one afternoon. I had never done so before, but at a red light, I bought a newspaper from a street vendor. Taking a quick look at the front page, I saw the article about Jedh's death. I was so shocked I had to pull over to the side of the street. Though I did not know him well, he was the first one I knew from Park Ridge to die in Vietnam. I've never forgotten that afternoon, or Jedh, or his sacrifice. My prayers and thoughts will be with you, your family, and friends as you honor his memory tonight." I've had the opportunity through the years to meet some of the men that Jedh was with that day. And I've tried to listen to their stories. Some of them are very difficult to listen to. And while I was trying to figure out what I was going to say when I was up here today, one thought that just kept on going through my head was this: "Greater love hath no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his friends." And a fellow that Jedh was in, it wasn't boot camp, but he was, I guess it was when he was out in California before they shipped out. He said, "Jedh was one of my best friends during staging battalion." I don't know what that is, but it's got something to do with guns, I think. We trained together. We sat at the top of a mountain together after the day's run, talking about our futures after Vietnam, our families, and what it all meant. It took me a lot of years to find his grave, and it happened a day or two after my second grandchild was born. To make a long story short, he is buried not 25 minutes from my daughter's home. I drove right to his grave, and I sat there for an hour talking to him like we did in California. Tears running down my face. And I told him how proud I was of his sacrifice, and I wished that, like hell, that he was there with me to see my grandchildren. I also, in planning this get-together tonight, this remembrance, this anniversary, reached out to a couple of guys that were there that day with Jedh, and a couple of them that I know of for sure, they meet at another place every year on this day for the very same reason. And this one fellow who could not make it here tonight wrote me the other day, and he said, "Dear Susan, I would love to share that time with you, your family, and the 4 survivors. I truly would. However, my disabilities have reached a point where I have great difficulty getting around, let alone traveling. God knows my heart and soul will be there with you. September 21st, the very same day I nearly died. If it weren't for some very skilled doctors aboard the hospital ship, I would have joined those brave other men who never came home. But Jedh will always forever be remembered as a Marine who would never fail his brother Marines, even if it meant giving his own life. They don't come any better than that. God bless you, and God bless the memory of Jedh, one fine Marine and a great man. Semper Fi." And I'll tell you a personal story of mine. The last time I talked to Jedh was on the night of September 21st, 1967, in Boston, Massachusetts. I was away at school, and he came to me in a dream, as he had many times before throughout the summer of 1967. In what I would call dream visits, Jedh would always tell me not to worry about him, that he would be okay, that he'd be coming home someday. But on this particular night, this dream visit was different. Jedh was not in uniform. He was wearing a maroon sweater that his girlfriend had knitted for him. And when I asked him why he wasn't in uniform, he told me that he wouldn't need to wear his uniform anymore, that he was not going back, that he was home. And I remember feeling an incredible sense of relief in that dream. A few days later, I learned that Jedh would not be going back to Vietnam, that he would indeed be coming home for good. And I want to thank everyone that's in this room that's here today to remember him. Thank you.
So I got a little token here for you, kind of get the coin of the Legion. Well, that's a tough act to follow. Now we have followed up by Tim Dillon, Department Chairman of the Marine Corps League, followed by Tim.
Good evening. My name is Tim Daudelin, and I'm a United States Marine. Achieved the rank of corporal, served in the field artillery. Now I'm in the Marine Corps League. I've been the commandant of my detachment. I've been the commandant of my district. Why is any of this important? It's very simple, because I could not have done any of those things if it wasn't for inspiration I received when I was a child that made me want to earn that prestigious title of United States Marine. Many years ago, my father was a milkman. He was also a Marine. He delivered up around here. And he used to tell me of this young man from Park Ridge who gave his life in Vietnam for his fellow Marines. Although I never knew much about him, I admired him. As I got older and I learned more about him, I grew to idolize Jedh Colby Barker. I can honestly say that Jedh is one of the main reasons I'm a United States Marine today, because I wanted to be like my idol, Jedh Barker. As we gather here today for the 50th anniversary of his heroic sacrifice, I take great pride in the fact that his name will forever be linked with me and my fellow Marines who are part of our detachment. We will continue, and I promise this to the family, that we will forever honor his name as long as his name adorns the covers we wear. We simply hope that what we do in his name will be looked down upon by Jedh with his approval. I don't want to be very long-winded, but I can honestly say that I'm 51. I was born a year before Jedh was killed in action. And every year of my life has been affected in some way by Lance Corporal Jedh Colby Barker. May God bless you, Jedh Colby Barker. God bless the United States of America, and Semper Fidelis.
Well, okay. We now have reformed the Marine Corps League bugler. All rise. We will salute at the end. Two. Okay, we're going to have the closing prayer now done by Mr. Robert Kelly of the American Legion, Post 153. Cover.
Please uncover, yeah. Dear God, you are our creator. You are the author of life. Life is a precious gift. We come today to remember, honor a life that is precious to us. We mourn the loss of Jedh Colby Barker. He was a man of courage, loyalty, and duty. He was one of the few and one of the proud. He was a Marine, like his father and mother. He was an amazing man who generously showed selfless service to his country in order to protect and defend his family, his friends, and his country, and his brothers in arms. Lord, help us to honor his memory and his life this day. Lord, we also want to honor the sacrifice that his family gave in order to allow him to serve our country. We are still aching for a void that has been created in the heart 50 years ago. We lift up our sadness and greet to you, Lord. We ask that you comfort us in our pain and bring us abundance of your gentle, healing mercies. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Okay, and I also would like to thank the proclamation sent by Robert Menendez, Governor Senator Booker, and Governor Christie of Bergen County Executive James Tedesco. All of them will be available on the back wall for review. I want to thank the Barker family, the Marine Corps League, the Bugler, the Vietnam Vets of America, the police, Piper, Post 153, and component members of the Veterans Legion members for your participation in its 50th anniversary memorial. Now I'd like us all to join us downstairs for a light refreshments, and I thank God. I thank you, God. Good night. God bless, and America's Armed Services. Thank you.